Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, Subscription Boxes and More with Michelle, and I'd like to do some DIYs with you. Here I have a daiquiri glass from Dollar Tree along with a Dollar Tree, there I show you the daiquiri glass, I think that's what that's called, and a Dollar Tree glass plate, and I think it's just a dinner size plate, and some fairy lights. Those are also from the Dollar Tree. And here we have one of those plastic red treat hearts that come in a pack of 4, also from Dollar Tree. And I have some Buffalo check ribbon that I don't end up using for this project. Alright, and then here I'm showing you my glue. It's a silicone glue, and it's Basic, B-A-Z-I-C, silicone glue. And it works really good for holding this glass together. I'm really loving this glue. It works for just about everything. Sorry about that. My hand was in the way. I keep adjusting my camera, trying to get this in frame. So anyways, I just put a good bead of this silicone glue around the bottom of that daiquiri glass. Isn't that what that's called? Whatever. I don't know, some kind of mixed drink, frou-frou mixed drink glass there. And I put just a good bead of that, and I set this on top, try to center it the best that I can. Evidently there was something on it and I was trying to wipe it off. Anyways, so I get that centered on there just the best that I can, and then because we're going to make this into like a treat stand, or you could put a candle on top of here, or cookies, or a cake. I got it because I was going to use it to put a pie on top of, actually, but I didn't get to make it because I'm stuck inside with the virus. So I set this aside and go on to the next project while that one dries. Okay, for this project, I'm using one of these love signs from Dollar Tree that has the tinsel. I'm using some of the nautical rope from Dollar Tree. I end up only using the white one. Then there's these wooden hearts here that makes a garland and some wire. And these actually came from Amazon, these bows, instead of Dollar Tree. Because I'm not the greatest at tying bows, I was able to get these for rather cheap on Amazon. So I use one of those, and I end up using, instead of that thicker, darker twine or rope, I ended up using a twine in that color. So here I'm just cutting off the tag and taking off this hanger piece, and then I'm going to save that for later. And then I start cutting off the tinsel so that we just have the bare form underneath. But I save the tinsel because I will put that to use in later, and also in possibly other projects. I use the red for this one, but I save the white for another day. This form has these little prongs that stick out on the side, and they wrap this tinsel around there. It's a little hard in places to get loose, but if you just keep at it, you'll get it off. It only takes a few minutes once you realize how they've got this around here. It's a lot faster after you figure it out. And so I just unwind this, and you'll see it just leaves that gray form underneath. So I can then wrap that with my rope. All right. So now I have the form with all of the tinsel off. Not very pretty at the moment, I know, but we are going to, I'm going to use those prongs to help hold the rope, the nautical rope. But you'll see later I have to cut them off of the O because that rope that I'm using, that twine, is much thinner. All right, so this nautical rope, there's no point in using it in, I got to take it apart here so we can get to the end of it, because it was held with a zip tie. But anyways, as I was saying, oh, Oh yeah, I was telling you to save that. Anyways, let me get back to the rope. So I take this rope, and it's made out of 3 strands, 3 bundled like strands that are sort of twisted together. And so I break that down and just single bundles instead of wrapped together in the 3, because it's just so thick. There's no need to use it, and it makes it go a lot, as a 3 strand, and it goes a lot faster. I'm just wrapping that tape back around there to help keep those strands together. And but it held up all right on the ones it didn't have. So I just untwist this, and as I said, we go with the single strand, and I'll be back with you when I get that all untwisted. All right, so we're down to a single strand of that rope, and you can see it's still pretty thick. So here I'm just trying to get some of the twist out of it. It's a little twisted up so that I can start wrapping my love sign. All right, so I think I've got it mostly untangled there. So we're going to start with the L, and going to use my silicone glue there. I use that glue for everything. It takes a long time to dry, yes, but it dries tacky enough really fast that it'll hold things in place, and then you can work with it. You don't have to wait too long. So there I am, just holding it in place and starting to wrap it around, and you'll see it just holds it right where I want it. And I'm just going to wrap this around and around. I'm just holding it there for a second and trying to decide the best way to tackle this. And there we go, just wrapping up the letter, trying to keep it in frame for you, and showing you that it's already held, the glue has. So then at the corner, it's a little tricky. I have a little trouble getting that to stay, covered there. And you'll see in a moment, I decided to put a bit of glue there. So I cut out some of that because it was painful to watch. But here's the glue that I'm going to use to hold that in place. And so periodically, I do have to use a drop of this glue to help. It took a moment to get this figured out. I've seen other people use the nautical rope to wrap these kind of forms, but the letters, I feel, were just a little tricky. But once I got it going, it was a lot easier than there was a moment where I just about threw it in the garbage and decided that it wasn't worth the effort for $1. But I'm glad I kept going. And as you can see, I'm just trying to get those little posts that are sticking out, covered with the rope, and also using that to hold it in place. And like I said, periodically I use a drop of that silicone glue, and it has held up really nicely. And make sure with that silicone glue that you're always replacing that cap immediately. Otherwise it gets really kind of goopy. So here I'm just showing you the finished L, and moving on to the O. And I started out using the thicker nautical rope on there, and I didn't have enough. It looked nice, but I didn't have enough of it. So I ended up taking that off and going with the twine, which you'll see in just a moment. All right, so I gave up on that rope, and I'm letting you know, no, don't use that one. So I end up using this twine instead, because there's a whole lot more of it. And maybe if I would have gone down to a single strand, I could have made that thicker one work. But it didn't even go quite halfway around the O. There I go, dropping stuff. And it doesn't want to stand up. It's not flat. Anyways, I started out trying to wrap this and use it with those posts sticking out. And then I find out rather quickly that that isn't going to work. So you'll see I cut those off. And it's about here that I've decided that those posts stick out beyond the twine, so they have to be cut off. And I just used my heavy duty scissors there and went all the way around the outside of the O and the inside of the O, and you can see they cut off pretty easily. The inside ones are a little trickier because of the length of the scissor blades, but I get them off. So now we're back with the O without the tabs sticking out, so it makes it a whole lot easier with this thinner twine. It would have been nice to have those there to help hold things in place, but it's not too bad. And it is a little time consuming with that roll to get this wrapped around there. But honestly, once you get a rhythm going, and once I realized I couldn't have that much extra string out from the roll, it wasn't too bad, and it went pretty quick. So So it was a little awkward when I first started, but like I said, once I got a rhythm, it went a whole lot faster. And you'll see it in a moment with the O all wrapped up. And here is that love sign all wrapped up. I didn't figure you needed to see me do the rest of it since you saw me do the L and start the O. And there was that connective part right there that had an upside down heart sticker there, and I had to cover that with the twine as long, and the rope, and there's that little piece that joins the letters, and I just covered those with rope as well, and I think it looks all right. You can tell what it says. I could have tried to cut that off, but there between the V and the E, but had I done that, it would have not been stable. And here I have one of the wooden hearts that I'm going to now cover with the tinsel, because a little of the tinsel goes a long way, and I figured that you could have a little bit of the red bling tinsely stuff around this heart for Valentine's Day, and so I wrap it around there. But then later I attach this in a way that it can be removed so that love sign can be used all year, and maybe add some flowers for spring, or what have you, and not have to put that away. You can use it all year, just not necessarily with this tinsely heart that you can put it back on again next Valentine's Day. So here I am just wrapping that up for you, and I don't think you need to watch me wrap the whole thing. I think you get the idea. I'll be back in a minute with it all wrapped. Okay, so I use this thin piece of wire, and I attach my heart to my O so that, as I said, it can be put on and removed for the Valentine holiday, so it's not permanent. I didn't glue it so that it would not be permanent, because I really like the look of the love sign as it is, but I just wanted to make it more Valentine-y by adding this tinsel heart. I was going to leave this as a wall hanger, but I decided I wanted to use it to sit up on top of my hutch, so I got some of the tumbling tower blocks, those Jenga-like blocks from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue them to the back of the letters at the bottom to make them stand up. And in hindsight, I should have just left this a wall hanger, because it doesn't work as well as I would like for it to, and I end up having to glue extra of the tiles on the back. I may try to pry those off and turn it back into a wall hanger, but I think the problem is that the pieces of wood are not heavy enough, and I'm not able to go get like a piece of wood plank that I could glue this to, which would be better and would make it more stable. But because we are under quarantine, I'm not able to go out and get something to glue that down to that would make that stand up a lot better. And with the cats, I know it's just going to keep getting knocked over. But I glue these, hello Bugatti. Here I glue some wood pieces to the bottoms of those letters, and it works well enough that, every time the cats go up near it, it will fall over. Trust me, it already has happened. but I just show you how I'm gluing those on there. On the L and the E, I glue them two blocks, and obviously on the O and the V I only have one, but I end up gluing more to the back of it to make it more stable. And boy, I'll tell you, that glue holds so well. Yeah, it probably, those are not probably going to come off the easiest to turn it back into a wall hanger. So I'm not exactly sure if I'll make it a wall hanger or if I'll just sit it up there and hope that the cats leave it alone after the initial fascination wears off. So, all right, you'll see it again in a moment once I get the blocks. I end up putting another block like on top of those blocks to give it a little more weight, and then I make it in another block, like I widen the base to make it stand up even a little better. So anyways, it ends up being like at the L, it ends up being like 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe blocks or something to hold it up in the E. And but anyways, they're only $1 for this tumbling block, so it's not like it was a waste of money. It just doesn't stand up as well as I would like it to. So here I add, for a little more stability, the extra blocks. And I end up, as I said, adding, like to make it the base wider, I end up adding some more beside of the bottom ones. And here you see that it does have a little trouble. It's a little front heavy, and it's a little floppy. It's not, that form is not very structurally sound. It's not very heavy duty. So, but I do get it to stand up. Like I said, I make that base just a little wider yet, from the back ways, so that it will not lean back quite as much. And here you can see it really does stand up, and that's before I added the extra blocks. And I decided it just needed a little something else, so I add that little buffalo check bow to the heart, and there you go, it is finished. And I think that turned out really cute. And like I said, I can take that tinsel heart off of there and use that all year long and dress it up with different things for the different seasons if I choose. And I think that's a neat addition to my just decor. But I like that little buffalo check ribbon there. It really set it off, I think. And so on to the next DIY. So next I decide to put together a heart garland, and I'm showing you the different beads that I use. I use great big like cranberry colored ones and buffalo check ones that came from Amazon. And here I'm going to paint with some leftover acrylic paint from a different craft kit, I think from Annie's. I'm going to use it, and I'm going to paint these hearts white on all sides. The front, the back, and even the black, the dark edge. So you don't need to watch this. I end up using 2 coats on each side, but I don't think you need to see the entire painting process. It's pretty self-explanatory. But as you can see, I alternate those beads by size and by color. I use those cranberry ones in the middle, those dark red ones from Walmart. They were a Christmas garland. And then the buffalo check ones come from Amazon. I'll try to have a link for those for you in the description. And then from Walmart Christmas garlands, I have the small black ones and the small white ones. I ended up having to use 3 different garlands to get the beads to make this project. I bought a bunch of them at Christmas time. I wish that I could have waited until they went on clearance, but I was afraid they would sell out, so I did pay full price for those. But and then I got sick and didn't get to go after Christmas. But next Christmas, I am going to go after Christmas and see if I can't get any of those at half price or so, because I will be using a lot of the beads for garlands. and they're cheaper that way, I do believe, than if you have to pick them up from Amazon, and you get different sizes and different colors, and then you don't have to paint them. So anyways, here I go painting the hearts, and I'll come back and show you the finished or the next step at least. So I strung it with, without you. I guess I felt like you didn't need to watch me string it on the on the twine, but I'm showing you that those Amazon bows, I did use one on each one of those white hearts, but I also used these clear candy, I don't know, I guess for candy boxes or whatever, clear little trinket boxes, and put those in between, and also put the gingham or buffalo check heart on there, and I made a tassel and put on each of the ends. And there it is, and I'll show you later it hanging up in my house, how I used it. But I think it's cute, and it looks even cuter hung up. So there is my garland. Now we're back to the first DIY, and I'm showing you that glue again and letting you know that I did use that only, and it is holding up just fine. I can even turn it over and the plate doesn't come off. So I was really impressed by that glue. And here I'm telling you that I'm going to glue this trinket box to the front of there, and that I'm going to glue it closed, but after I put the fairy lights, I'm going to put some of the fairy lights inside of that heart. And I have trouble working with a strand of lights because my fingers are so numb that thin wire, I just had a hard time holding on to it. Here I'm untangling it. I thought that the lights were just a little bright in your eyes probably, so I went ahead and turned that off, and also to save the batteries. But here I am untangling the last little bit of that strand of fairy lights, and you can see how delicate they are, and I'm just afraid I'm going to break the wire, and I just can't keep a hold of it. But I'm trying to decide how many of those lights I want inside of that heart. And then I just can't, it just was a little fiddly for me. I made it a lot harder than it should have been, trust me. I mean, it's not rocket science. I just can't keep a hold of it. And so here I'm going to put a dab of that glue so that it holds that heart closed and those lights stay in there where I want them, except for my glue is getting so empty because I've used so much of it in my recent crafting, putting together that Christmas house and just all my DIYs, all of my crafting, I'm using this glue. I am in love with this glue. So here I am. I'm going to put that together so that, like I said, it'll hold those lights in there and keep them in place. And I just put those two halves back together, being careful not to squeeze it tight onto that piece of wire. I leave it apart just a little bit so that that wire doesn't break. And I decide that there's not quite enough light inside of the heart, so I push one more light down inside of there. And I decide that looks better. So then I put a little glue along the sides because I had pulled that apart, and again, it's not closed completely tightly, and I want to make sure that it holds together because I don't want that popping apart and those fairy lights coming out. So a next step is I am going to glue this to the stem of the drink glass. Put a liberal amount of glue right down the center of that heart, and I glue it to the stem. But because this does take a while to dry, even though it does go tacky pretty quick, I end up taking tape, as you'll see, and putting temporary piece of tape on it temporarily to hold that in place so I can let go and finish the project. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm just getting that tape which is a little awkward one-handed as I'm trying to hold that heart into place. But I take that tape and I just tape that heart to the stem just to hold it there so that it can dry. And I've since taken that off and it's holding just fine. And I have to put one on the other side as well, because otherwise the heart wants to go wonky, and we don't want it to dry on there wonky. We want it to stay up in place. And just to be sure that it stays in place like I want it to, I add a little more glue behind it now that that tape is holding it in place. And I just squeeze some down in there. And this glue is rather thick, so it's not, you know, running down the stem. I'm trying to get enough of it to come out that it actually holds it in place. And this glue is thick, so it's not it's kind of a gel. So anyways, I got some back there, and just got to straighten that heart up because it went a little wonky while I was doing that. And now I've got to deal with the rest of the fairy lights. And what I've decided to do with that is run it down the back of the stem. And I use a little piece of that gold wire that I had, and I just twist it around and use it to hold that light string in place behind that stem, because I'm going to put the rest of it underneath of the glass, as you'll see in just a moment. Well, hello, Mau Mau. Nope, that's Mr. Nubbins. Hello, Mr. Nubbins. Here we go. I'm tucking those lights up underneath of there. I'm trying to move everything out of your way so that you can see how it looks when it's finished. I should have turned the lights out so that you could have seen how cute this was. Oops, one of the lights got loose on me. But then I turn it around trying to show it to you and realize that the camera is not at a good angle. So hang on, let me get that camera moved. And here is our finished plate. I think that's really cute. Anyways, I think it's really cute. I apologize for the orientation of this video. I have absolutely no idea how that got turned that direction, as that is my camera, not my phone. They're spicy, trying to eat some gummy cherry hearts. I just wanted to show you it with something on it. And here is that garland all hung up. I think it's cute there in my kitchen, hung on my little shelf there. I don't know what you'd call that, but I think it's really cute. What do you think? Let me know what you think of these DIYs, and I'll see you again in a new video. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching and listening to me babble. Bye.